floor is yours. Welcome everybody back to another plenary session. This one we are honoring our youngest among us, our youngest emerging leaders, if you will, our undergraduates, and allowing them to share their research with us. And Dr. Talia Thomas is the one that leads this thing dedicatedly every year, and COMPA and I am very grateful for what you do with our undergraduate students. Thank you also to our wonderful judges, Al Gourier, Kenneth Meyer, Loretta Tillery, and Janice Upshaw. Thank you to all 5 of you for being a part of this, and to our undergrads. We treasure you, and it doesn't matter who wins. You are all winners, and we hope that this is just a step towards what's it called, a career in research and in doing, as we just learned from heard from Van Jones, that we've got to be more than just B'ers and just PhDers, but we got to do. So with that, I hand it over to you, Dr. Thomas.
Okay, I am here, but I was trying to get on my other computer as well so I can pull up their presentations, and I think it's loading now. So that I can do the screen share for them. But in the midst of while that's coming, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our judges of the hour. And can everybody hear me? Everybody's good? Okay, awesome. All right, so we have 4 judges that are able to take their time out today to spend with us and judge these posters for you guys. Our first judge is Dr. Gourier, and I hope I said it right. Was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, educated at Xavier University of Louisiana and the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. He holds a BA in finance and a master's in business administration. He's also a graduate of the ABA Stoner's Graduate School of Banking at Georgetown University, and he holds a PhD in public affairs from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Also, his scholarship and academia focuses is on community banking and finance, social equity, and community development through financial and economic representation. Also by exploring decisions and structures impacting economic health, housing, development, entrepreneurship, and the well-being of urban communities. Currently, he is serving as a board member with the University of Maryland Medical Center's Community Advisory Council. Also vice president of the Upton, hope I'm saying that correctly, Community Development Corporation, and co-chair of CRA Baltimore. Also, he is a member of Urban Affairs Association, ASPA, Urban Financial Services Coalition, and also as of February 2021, he was a 4-year designated as a Fulbright Specialist Program Scholar. So that is one of our judges, and thank you. Our next judge is Kenneth J. Meyer. He is a distinguished scholar in residence at the School of Public Affairs, American University, and also is the director of the American University Summer Diversity Academy. Also, he holds faculty positions at Cardiff University in Wales and Leiden University in the Netherlands. And Ken, can you just raise your hand for me? Our next judge is Dr. Janice Upshaw. She's an assistant professor and serves as the program coordinator for the Graduate School of Public Leadership at the University of North Texas, Dallas. Her teaching is focused on increasing the quality of leadership in nonprofit organizations. She's also heavily researched in like the role of nonprofit leaderships, building social capacity, also looking at events before and after public violence. Also, Dr. Upshaw serves as an affiliate faculty member with the UNT Dallas Urban Search Institute. She's also serves as a program coordinator and presenter for the Search Community Leadership Academy. This is the nation's first peer leadership training for combined cohorts of law enforcement officers and citizens. In addition, she also supervises graduate students research in the community. And also before then, talk about her, she received where she went to school. Let me back up. She received her master's in science and social work, administration and community planning from the University of Texas at Arlington, and her doctoral degree in public affairs from the University of Texas at Dallas. And also she has been married for 36 years, and she has 2 adult children and 5 grandchildren. So Dr. Upshaw, can you raise your hand? There she is. All righty. And saving my best for last, we have Miss Loretta Tillery. She's the University of Maryland, Baltimore, UMBC Public Policy PhD, focusing on public management and policy history. In addition to that, she is the Deputy Chief of Staff for the Prince George County Department of Social Services. She's a certified public manager with more than 16 years of public sector leadership experience. In her current role, she develops, analyzes, and advises on public matters in areas of human services, administration, policy, strategic planning, and also continuous quality improvement and client engagement. Currently, she's serving as the commissioner on Network of Schools for Public Policy, Affairs and Administration, also the commissioner on peer review and accreditation. She also serves as a site visitor for the National Certified Public Manager Consortium. And also she is the member of the board of directors of Certified Public Managers Educational Foundation. And also she's one of our past COMPA presidents, and her term was 2018 to 2019. And Miss Loretta, can you wave your hand? Awesome. So these are our judges for today. I am Dr. Talia D. Thomas. I'll be your moderator for today. I'm associate professor at Jackson State University, the I love. So now we will start with our student posters presentations. And first we will have Miss Taylor DeWitt, and I will introduce her. And then after that, I'll let her start with her poster. Miss Taylor DeWitt is from Manfield, Louisiana. She will be graduating this year with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Dillard University. She's a member of the Alpha Phi Sigma Criminal Justice Honor Society and has been on the dean's list all 4 years of her college career. She's also the president of the collegiate chapter of the National Organization for Black Law Enforcement Executives in New Orleans. Taylor is a very active student on campus. Even though being very active on campus, she's also played women's basketball for Dillard all 4 years while being there. Taylor also has spoken at several conferences, including the 5th Annual World Association for Academic Doctors and Center for Racial Justice Conference, presenting her research on the injustice within the criminal justice system. And today she will present her research on the connections between wrongful convictions and race. And I'll present to you Miss Taylor DeWitt. Did I say that correctly?
Good evening.
And hold on, pull up your poster for you.
No, it's afternoon. I'm sorry. Good afternoon.
Kelechi, can you give me screen sharing on the one that says Talia Thomas, please? Okay, can everybody see that?
Not yet. It says that you started, but we don't see anything yet. There it is. There it is.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so today I'm going to present my research on wrongful convictions and race. It's kind of a broad topic, but my focus this time was on my peers, how my peers feel about it. I'm just going to start with the introduction. The purpose of this paper is to examine the impact of race and wrongful conviction. This studies address the question, what is the major impact of race and wrongful convictions? 4 interviews and 1 focus group of 4 results show that participants feel that criminal justice system is built to imprison people of color. Future studies should interview prisoners who were released from prison because they were wrongfully convicted. This will give more understanding of the relationship from a prisoner standpoint between wrongful convictions and race. My problem statement was future studies need to analyze the link between race and wrongful conviction. The purpose of this study, again, is the purpose of this paper is to examine the impact of race and wrongful conviction. My research question was, what is the major impact of race and wrongful conviction? So the methods I used was the setting, which was a qualitative interview, which was conducted at my HBCU, Dillard University. And the sample was the qualitative interviews, which was conducted with only 4 undergraduate students. 1 focus group was conducted, which 4 undergraduate students. These students were not the same as the students used for the interviews. Some of them was boys, a couple was boys, and a couple was girls. So the data and procedure is focus interviews were conducted with undergraduate students to obtain their point of view on race and wrongful conviction. Additionally, a focus group was conducted with 4 undergraduate students to access this perception of the link between race and wrongful conviction. The participants were asked to read and sign a consent form. These individual interviews were 30 minutes. The focus group was an hour and 15. Confidentiality is maintained as noted. Okay. The data analyst is organize and catalog groups of all information that is important to the study, combine the agreeing elements throughout the research of the experience into a theme. Number 3, provided the consistency of the element in terms by comparing them against the participants' records interviews. And 4, irrelevant information will be given by the interviews is reduced and excluded. So the themes are most of how some students feel. I put a couple up in here, but there's a lot. One, I'm going to start with, most of the students believe that the criminal justice system is built to imprison the people of color. 2, half of the students have watched a documentary about wrongful convictions. 3, all the students express they feel emotional of anger and fear for their day-to-day life, feelings of wrongful convictions. 4, all of the students agree that race does play a role in wrongful conviction. 1 student expressed that they feel as if there was not enough organizations out in the world to help the wrongfully convicted. And finally, all students believe that eyewitness and misidentification play a role in wrongful conviction and incorrect forensic examination. My conclusion is summary of the results. According to the students interviewed, they all agree that the criminal justice system is broken and imprisonment of African Americans is more common than any other race. The racial profiling of African Americans in the criminal justice system has been a norm. Major wrongful convictions have come from eyewitness misidentification and incorrect forensic examinations. Limitations. My limitations was the group size. At the HBCU, I only could do who was in the criminal justice classes, and it was a small sample size. Future research should analyze the major links between race and wrongful convictions, such as false confessions and misidentification. They should look at the ways to expand access to post convictions, DNA tests, and investigate police interrogations before accepting confessions. Okay, any questions?
So now we will start with our judges for questions first, and then after all of our judges have gone, then I will open it up to the audience for a couple of questions. So any judge, whoever wants to start first, may go.
Hi, Taylor. Thank you so much for your work that you've done. And it looks like you're going to have a lot of success going forward in your degree of criminal justice. I wanted to see, and maybe Dr. Thomas, if you could move the poster up down just a little bit. In your literature review that you did, what were some of the things that you found that lent itself to the evidence of race and wrongful convictions? What were some of the things you found in your literature review?
So the first one, I had received the information from JSTOR, one of the books on JSTOR. So it was just saying there is a growing concern about the number of Black males who are wrongfully accused and convicted based on someone's misidentification or an incorrect forensic examination. I feel it's important, but you know, it's someone else's research, but it's good for my research also.
Yes. Mhm.
But it was a lot. I found actually I got like 2 pages of literature review. The second one was many judges base their sentencing on evidence at hand. Eyewitness testimony is highly used in courts. However, eyewitness misidentification is the most common factor of wrongful conviction, which it agrees with my whole poster, the literature review. And also the last one, nearly 1/3 of claims involve wrongful convictions where a person is incorrect of a crime that never happened.
Excellent. I believe there's some information too on there where you can look at some of those statistics of wrongfully committed as well as different sentence structures for different types of crime. I think also lend itself to looking at the fairness of the criminal justice system. I work with an individual in our community, Richard Miles, who was imprisoned at the age of 19 for 15 years for a crime that he did not commit. He is a Black male, and he was acquitted or released and shown to be innocent. And with the compensation that he received from the state for his wrongful conviction, he began a nonprofit organization that now works with those coming out of prison. So a really kind, compassionate man. That is evidence of what you're talking about here. So this is an excellent topic, and I thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you. I forgot to say also, I work with an organization. It's called Stepping Stone, but it's an organization in Memphis. It's nonprofit also, and it's like she's trying to get it started. The CEO, her name is Larry, and she's been trying to get it started, but it's like hard because you know you got to get grants, you got to get fundraisers and stuff like that. But she's trying to start it in Memphis for wrongfully convicted.
I think I will jump in then if nobody's going to say anything. And first, Taylor, thank you. I found your presentation very interesting. And I would just like, as a plug, to point out that American University School of Public Affairs does have a master's degree in law, justice, and society. And if you're thinking of higher education, please apply and let me know. Now, I have a question about your sample and your focus groups. And as somebody who does work on convenience samples, I fully understand using samples that you can get access to. But I'd like you to talk a little bit about how, if instead of using interviews from students at Dillard University, that you use them in the city itself, and how you think that might have generated any differences, or if it would not have generated differences.
So I feel like it would have been different, but my professor only wanted Dillard students. So I just had that was the rules.
So you didn't
I
argue,
would've-
you didn't argue with your professor on this?
Professor Ishmael, I can't argue with Professor Ishmael, but I wanted to do it at other schools like Tulane, Loyola, Xavier. Like I wanted to space out, but he said that probably will be something next year. And I was like, well, I'm graduating this year, so I don't know if I can, do that. But I feel like it would have been different, like from the different point of views, because as my focus group, I feel like everybody's just looking at race, and there are many wrongful convictions, but the answers would most definitely have been different.
Thank you. And always keep that attitude, please. Okay?
Yes.
Don't accept when people put limitations when you want to do research.
Right.
Okay, and I guess I'll jump in next if possible. I just wanted to hear from you about future research. If you did have unlimited resources and you really could scale up and lead research in this area, how would you go about doing this work?
Personally, me, I would my professor took us to Angola one year, and I feel like, because I want to do social work in the standpoint, and I feel like I would get their personal standpoints. I would interview. I don't mind like going out in the field. So I would do that. Would be something I would do. Going into the field, going outside the campus, going to jail, prisons, because of course everybody's gonna feel like they're innocent at some point in jail. But I'm just, it's some out there that really are innocent.
Thank you.
All right. Taylor, I just want to first congratulate you, at least in putting together a body of work that's both interesting and important. So happy to have you here. Got a couple of questions about your research. You did both interviews and a group focus study. Can you talk to me a little bit about the questions that were asked in that interview process that gave you the data that you worked with?
So the interviews, they were more like, do you watch documentary about wrongful conviction? Because myself, I watch them. So I just put myself in a standpoint of, Dillard University students. So I just asked them, like, do you watch documentaries? Do you know anyone who's been wrongfully convicted? And when it came to my focus group, I asked more personal questions, as if are you how do you feel about wrongful convictions? If you can change it, what would you change about the system?
Okay, and based on your opinion, after going through this process, what do you see as the single most significant impact on race as a result of wrongful convictions?
That's a good question. What I would see. I think about this a lot, but that question, like, how do I feel? I mean, I do know a couple. Like, I watch documentaries all the time on wrongful conviction, but it's just like, as an African American woman, like, it hurts to see my own race going through this situation. It hurts to see like organizations, not enough organizations for the wrongfully convicted. It's like, it hurtful because like, if they do, like, the wrongfully convicted, when they do get out of prison, like, what do they have? Like, who's there to help? So it hurts.
Thank you.
And if I could ask a follow-up question, and one, I want to say that this presentation really is very timely considering our keynote presentation, because some of the issues were discussed during our wonderful keynote presentation. You said that you watch a lot of documentaries on this particular subject. And I wanted to know if you could just give me your thoughts about how those documentaries led you to this research, if there was a connection there.
So, I mean, it just gives me more like in depth, like how I can go about writing my research, how I can start it, like where I can start from. Just let me see, it just give me more like my questions when I ask my focus group. It give me more of, okay, how you're gonna go about asking this question, or is that too in depth, or am I pushing too hard on the situation? Am I going too in depth for in wrongfully conviction and race with my research?
Thank you.
Now, if we have any questions from the audience. And I don't see any hand raises, but if
Can we
there's something.
scroll that back up to the top, please?
Okay. Mhm. Sure can. Okay, is that good enough or did I go too far?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
So this is a question I like to ask my students after I force them to do research. How did you feel about the whole process? I don't know if this was one of those that was forced upon you, like for a grade, but how did you feel from the beginning to the end? Did you start, did it start off rough? Did it start off great and then in the middle it was rough and then in the end it's like, yay? Or how did you feel about this whole process? Did you feel like you knew enough to even start? Talk to us.
Okay, so this is not my first one. I have like a couple more posters like this, but I'm more of a poster person. Like, when everyone comes out and see it in person, I feel like I talk better in person than over the phone. But this took like 2 months. Like, it was a lot because I had to figure out my own questions. I had to figure out, who I'm going to ask, like who really cares about, wrongful conviction and race, even on campus. It took a long time mentally. But when I did finish this one, I was excited. I was trying to get it printed out on a poster and everything just so I can, have it because I was proud of my research that I did. I did get a good grade for it, so that counts.
Thank you.
And I have a question, Taylor, for you. So during your focus groups, did you see that it was more females that came to the table, or was it more males that came to the table? And after you answer that question, then did you kind of get a male's point of view if there were more males, and what was that point of view? Or was it more females coming to the table than males when you had your focus group? And then what was that point of view?
It was for sure more females, most definitely more females, because our school, we just got a baseball team, which brought in a lot of males. So it was a good, mostly all females, and they sounded like me, like, they was passionate about it. They was hurt. They wish, we had more organizations, especially in New Orleans, to like help with them certain situations. They had a lot of questions for me too. So it was like, they cared.
Okay. So it seems like you had a good interaction and feedback when you
Mhm.
did your focus groups. Okay.
It was good.
Okay. Are there any more questions for Taylor? And Colette, yeah, I was going to ask you because I can't see if the hands are raised or not. You're on mute.
Sorry, I was just saying I didn't see any hands, but.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you, Taylor. And stay around just in case we have some other questions that may come up from either our judges or the audience. And now I will just give me a minute so I can pull up Miss Mila Thomas. Hold on. Okay, now we're introduce Miss Mila Thomas. She is a senior that's graduating this year at Dillard University. She is a criminal justice major, and she's also she said that after graduation, she wants to go to law school, and her career aspirations are she's aspiring to become a family and juvenile lawyer, and she's also a member of Zeta Phi Beta. And now I will give the floor to Miss Mila Thomas.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mila Thomas, and today my poster presentation will be on the mental effects of teen dating violence. Before I get started, due to confidentiality reasons, my focus group, I wasn't able to do it with actual patients, so I did it with students from my school. And okay, I'll get started. So basically the purpose of this presentation is to go through all the detailed effects that teens go through when they're part of an abusive relationship. The study was conducted to answer the following question: what are the mental effects of teen dating violence? 4 psychologists will be interviewed to receive the number of when teen dating violence start and how is it dealt with in New Orleans, Louisiana. My focus group was a group of students from Dillard University that got together with me, and we just got real personal, and we all signed off, and they were committed to doing the focus group. My problem statement: future researchers should also consider the context of dating violence, specifically the role of bystanders and peer support for victims of teen dating violence. Once again, the purpose of this presentation is to go through all the detailed effects that teens go through when they're a part of an abusive relationship. My literature review states there is research showing that the preparation of dating violence can have long-term negative outcomes, such as increased anxiety, decreased physical health. However, research has shown that likelihood of these consequences can differ by gender and victimization type. Dating violence comes in multiple different phases, such as physical, sexual, and psychological. When dealing with one or all of these phases of violence, the victim does not know what to do and how to control their partner. My research question: what are the mental effects of teen dating violence? The setting was a qualitative interview that was conducted with psychologists, well-known psychologists that I know, as well as students who offered to be a part of my focus group to talk about teen dating violence. This study will conclude 4 individual interviews with psychologists. This method will utilize probability of numbers to answer questions about teen dating violence. This sample will include the psychologists to discuss the effects of teen dating violence on males and females. The psychologists will all be in different rooms, but answering the same questions to get different answers. The proposed study will be introduced to the psychologist, and the researcher me, Myla, will ask for voluntary participation in the interviews. For the focus group, it will be conducted with students on a topic of teen dating violence. This method will utilize a non-random, non-probability sample and reliance on available subjects. The sample of proposed focus group will be different from the sample utilized for the individual interviews. The students will be, I wasn't able to do that due to confidentiality reasons, so they weren't assigned to different psychologists. I just did 2 separate things, an interview and a focus group. Before the research was conducted, the proposal will be introduced to professionals and students for availability and voluntary participants. Once the participants are selected, 4 interviews will be conducted with psychologists and a focus group with students. The participants of both the individual interview and focus group will consist of different sample sets. The participants were asked to sign a consent form of confidentiality of their personal information, and they were given a copy to keep. Both the focus group and the individual interviews took place on a day and time of their availability. The interviews were recorded and transcribed as a part of the data collection, and the recordings will be locked away in a safe place and will be disregarded after a year and after the research is done. My data analysis was listing and preliminary grouping of all information that is significant to the study, reduction and inclusion of all relevant information that is given by the interviewee, combined and consistent elements of the experience into a theme, and validated the consistent elements in their terms by comparing them against the participant recorded interviews. My themes consisted of psychological effects, difficulty with relationships, and manipulation. These themes came from my personal aspect of being, as I was a part of this research, because I myself was a victim of this. So for psychological effects, professionals agreed that experienced partner violence in teen years caused psychological disorders to develop, as well as depressive moods and increased irritability, example of major depression and PTSD. Difficulty with relationships, there was consistency among people where heightened fear of previous violent partners would resurface, or future relationships would result in intimate partner violence. Manipulation, both professionals and students expressed instances of narcissist behaviors, including manipulation from violent partners to psychologically and physically trap victims from leaving the relationship. The victim's mindset can alter and also lead to cycle of violence. The 2 photos, or the 2 evidence I have, which was basically the research I found, 1 in 5 million teens experience dating abuse of some form each year. Only 33% asked for help. And what people didn't know, that dating violence is not only in women, but it's also in men, which is 1 in 4 in women and 1 in 7 in men. And that is a lot when comparing to, because people don't usually think that men go through teen dating violence, but it's more silenced in men because they feel that they can't talk about it because it may affect their manlyhood. Can you scroll to the top a little bit? The summary of the results. According to the professionals and students interviewed in this study, teen dating violence can easily and quickly alter a youth's psychological makeup and cause long-term mental and emotional disorders in adulthood. Each participant agreed that teen dating violence can negatively affect adult relationships. Connection to this literature, individuals subject to teen dating violence are at high risk of committing suicide or having suicidal thoughts. According to the research, more women experience dating violence in their years and develop severe cases of mental disorder, depression, and anxiety in daily situations, also in men as well. Intimate dating partner violence most commonly occurs among teens and often takes place in youth-dominated institutions, such as academic institutions such as middle school, elementary school, high school, and college. And my limitations were limited to a certain setting, limited to a certain group of professionals, and also students as well, and limited to a small sample size. My future research should analyze the longevity of the mental effects of teen dating violence as teens progress into adulthood. Research should also study the roles of bystanders and supporters of teen victims. Any questions?
Yes, now we will open it up to our judges.
Loretta, you got your hand up, but I didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say Loretta had her hand up.
Okay. I have two questions. And the first one is, and thank you for the research, and this is a very important topic, especially for our youth, our teens. Did the participants provide any feedback on your research? And if so, can you share what feedback you received?
They did, yes. And the feedback that I received was that they all agreed on this topic. We didn't get into the topic of if it happened to them or not, because I wanted to keep it confidential. I didn't want to make them feel pressured, but they did agree that it starts at a young age and can progress over time. And it also felt like I should have opened up. They asked me, they said I should have opened up more, but due to how the project was set up and the confidentiality reasons, I wasn't able to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Maya, and great job. Very important topic. Obviously timely, as well as on your, I'm assuming your participants, once again, were all Dillard University students, which I'm sure topic is relevant and resonates with them as well. In your discussion with either your professionals or your focus groups, you broke down the different types of dating violence. Was there one particular act of violence that was perceived to be more prevalent than the other, as well as of either of those having more sustained long-term effects versus physical, sexual, mental effects?
Thank you. The two that stood out the most, because it was two that actually did stood out the most, it was physical and sexual. Those two stood out the most simply because growing up as a young child, you look at people differently when your partner has put their hands on you in any different way. And from my professional's point of view, it was physical, and from the student's point of view, it was sexual, but they both had similar numbers due to the fact that with the professionals, they work with these people every day, so they see it in real life. And with the students, they also see it if they're bystanders or not. But yes, sexual and physical were the most two acts of violence that stood out the most in this research.
And just a quick follow-up, I didn't catch how big was your focus group and what was the split versus male versus female? And did you get the similar type of reaction from them as the data, what is roughly 14% men, 25% women? When you had your focus group, what was the male-female split, and did you get the same feeling back from that group as the data had presented?
My focus group was limited, but I opened it up to anyone who wanted to come. It was, well, the number is, I'm trying to remember. It was 10 to 15 students because I wanted a variety, but mostly women came. And it honestly didn't surprise me because with the data with women, even though it was more men than women, women tend to open up more than men because of how men feel and how they want to keep it to themselves due to the fact that they feel like it's going to basically destroy how the people see them. So yeah, it was more women than men. And it didn't surprise me at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mila, thank you very much for this. I appreciate your research a great deal. The love of my life was actually has set up a shelter for cases like this. So there's some personal tie here. Let me ask you a couple of questions that, because of the policy relevance of your research, you'll probably get asked. These are unfair questions to ask a researcher, but they ask us as college professors all the time. So I'm going to put you on the spot. During your interviews, did the notion of where individuals could go for help if this happened come up, and was that discussed? Did they? What I want to know is if they perceived there were such things.
Yes, they did actually, because that was one of my questions that I asked them, where could people go for help? And the common answer was therapy. And it didn't shock me, but it did, because I feel like there are other places people like this could go, but everyone said therapy, and sometimes therapy helps and sometimes it doesn't. Like personally for me, it did, but it didn't, because I still see people differently due to the fact that everything like that happened. But it was iffy with the therapy, but everybody answered therapy.
And the second question is, let's say that the Louisiana legislature calls you tomorrow to testify. What are you going to propose for solutions? Let's say they'll actually listen to you, and this would be a wonderful thing. Okay. And so.
Basically what I would propose for solutions is more open up, more places that teens like this can go to open up their feelings and how they feel about it, especially men, because if men were able to open up more, I feel like they could get more help. Based on like my research, only 33% of people ask for help, and I feel like if it was more open for people to go to, the percentage of help would be higher, and I feel like people would actually get help, and it would actually help them in the long run, because if they don't get the help, then they're going to be struggling with this for a very long time, and it's very hard to struggle with it, because it could end up even worse, because they struggled so long and now they're just going to give up. And if they had the help they can get, they probably would have pushed more and more to keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mila. Thank you so much for bringing
Hello.
this topic to us today. A really, really important topic, as we can see by some of the numbers you've shown in your review of the literature here. I was kind of going on the same vein as Dr. Meyer is, I look at this and that 33% asking for help, the only 33% asking for help, calls to question what are the barriers, right? I mean, we could probably propose some barriers, but the group that you have or that you were speaking to in your focus group were it's a great place to start with finding out, what those barriers are or what would be the means to find some solutions so that they could come. So I found it interesting that I think 15 or so in a focus group is a pretty good number when you simply ask for volunteers. And so if I'm understanding correctly, all of these were in these individuals, you refer to them as patients. So were they already?
No, they weren't with that, they were supposed to be patients, but due to confidentiality with HIPAA, I wasn't able to interview patients. So I haven't had the time to go back and like change stuff, but my actual research was dealing with students and I wasn't able to do patients due to the violation.
All right, I do remember you talking about that. So thank you for clarifying that and because you did say that in your presentation. And so you did not, and I believe if I'm correct, you said you didn't ask them outright if they had experienced dating violence, but it was a topic that they found of interest. And so
yes,
it does cause one to wonder, why that was of interest, either a friend, or themselves. So I guess part of what my question then is kind of along the same veins is looking at that. Do you think that this type of research, if you were to extend it, what do you think your next kind of research question would be if you were able to continue on the same vein of talking with individuals about dating violence? What do you think? How do you think you would extend the research, or what other research question would you want to know?
one other research question that I will want to know is how would you overcome teen dating violence? What are the steps you're going to take to get help and push through as a person, basically? Like, I would want to know, because I know what I did, but it interests me on what other people did. And I would probably focus this more. I would add women in it, but I would focus it more on men to see if they will actually talk about it. Like, what did you do? How are your feelings? Keeping it in? Did you let it out? Basically, questions like that.
Okay, interesting. And I think that's what happens, right? We start doing the research and we get feedback from the participants who are that we're gathering research from and the data from, and it leads us on to those next questions. And that's vitally important in research, is to know, how we're going to continue and what avenues we're going to look at. So good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I could ask a follow-up question. In your connection to the literature, your third bullet says intimate partner violence most commonly occurs among teens and often takes place in youth-dominated institutions, such as academic institutions. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more? Are you saying that the violence actually occurs in the school? And if so, is that during the school hours or is it after school? Or could you just expand on that statement a little bit?
Of course. Basically what I was trying to get at it was actually school, yes, but not just elementary, middle school, but also high school and college as well, because it starts young, but it continues to grow into college and after. And basically, after school, maybe, yes, not maybe, after school, yes, because during school, you don't really see your partner. If you do, it's only for probably an hour or so. But mostly what I've seen, it occurs after school. And because after school, the teachers and people at school can't tell you what to do because it's after hours. So that's what I was trying to get at that.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Now I will open it up to the audience if there are any questions.
Dr. Upshur, did you still have a question?
No, I just haven't lowered my hand. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There we go.
So I do want to just just to be fair, I'll ask the same question, but I also wanted to say in my household, we did not date as teens. So I learned that whole teen or dating experience was in the university setting for me. And now I'm like, I got kids, I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. And you do what you sort of how you were raised. Well, everybody doesn't do that because some people are like, oh, I hated the way I was raised, so I do this, I try something different. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no clue, but my kids are not in elementary school even. So, but my question is, wow, parenting is hard. Lord, I'm sorry. Just hearing this presentation just took me somewhere else. But how was this experience for you from start to finish? Developing the idea, how did you feel throughout this whole process? Did you feel like you had the tools to do what you needed to do? And are you surprised, by where you are now and how fluidly and confidently you spoke about this?
Well, at first it kind of was hard because I'm not good at opening up about my personal business, but I'm basically, it was as it went on, as I did the research and stuff, it got better because I want to work with juveniles as a career and also family and juveniles to stop like to stop basically what I'm talking about and getting the households together, advocating for young people, and just thinking about me. It made me go harder because it's other people out there like me that try to do this, but they can't. And I was really supported by my professor. So he was shocked that I picked this topic, but I had to tell him, like, if I'm going to do this in law school, I got to do it now so people can hear my voice and at least understand that this is a very important topic, not only to other people, but me personally. So yeah, it was hard at first, but as I did it from start to finish, it got easier because I have presented this topic at multiple conferences and people they's like, wow, you're very strong. And I was like, yes, I try.
Okay, Chanel, you did it. Okay, Chanel has a question for you. Go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chanel Morgan. I am an MPA student at the University of Baltimore. I enjoyed your presentation, Ms. Thomas. I just wanted to ask a quick question. Through your process of doing your research on teen violence, did you come across any organizations or institutions that is working to combat this issue? Also, were there like any specific information geared towards either gender, that could help teens in this situation?
I didn't really come across any on organizations, but I did do an internship with the Orleans Parish Teen Court, and I can't really go into detail on what the kids talked about, but this topic did come up a lot during my internship here, and this was a part of why I wanted to talk about it. And for the second question with can you repeat the second question with gender?
Yeah, sure. If there was any specific information that you may have came across in your research that could help either gender that may be in a teen volatile situation with a partner.
Yes. The specific information that came across for gender basically is reaching out for either gender, because I know it's hard for both genders to reach out, but basically reaching out, because for males it's hard. For women it's hard too, but they reach out more to at least try. And I just feel like if both would just reach out as well, it would be better, if you understand what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hey, Mila, I have a question. Well, I want to say thank you for the research and thank you for being transparent and sharing your experience as well. My question is that, so it may be, you can answer from your own personal reference, but I guess after the incident happens, or maybe it has occurred more than once, then did they reveal how long, or maybe in your instance, how long did it take before, I guess, you kind of realize like, maybe I need to go talk to somebody about this, or, or maybe somebody shared with somebody else first, and then that person they shared with, went ahead and was like, I really think that you need to go, talk to somebody to get help, to process it and to get through it, so that you can feel better and be open to talk about it. So either you can answer from your personal perspective, or you can answer from maybe what you talked about when you did talk to the students.
For me, basically, it took, because this happened in high school, so and basically being from Houston and coming to New Orleans, it took a while because I had to adjust in high school out here in New Orleans. So it did take a while, and I was meeting new people and stuff like that, and starting relationships. But for me, it took basically my whole freshman year and half of my sophomore year, so a year and a half for me to actually understand that I'm not okay. I need to seek help. And with the students, they all did agree on, because I did tell how long it took in my story. They agreed, but some said for them it probably would take months or more than 2 years, because they feel like it's hard because people don't understand them, and it would be hard for them to trust someone to actually sit down and talk with them about it. So for them, it was months to 2 years. For me, it took a year and a half.
Thank you. Are there any more questions for Mila?
Yes, a quick question, well, not a question, but a comment in terms of Mila, if you're thinking about extending this research. I think we're talking about this from the point of view of the victims, but sometimes the way to preempt re-victimization or reoffense is also to focus on the offenders and provide some assistance over there. So that's something you might want to consider, because some of these things in a relationship, if it's a male offender or a female offender, if we don't address that aspect, the tendency to reoffend is highly likely. So an effective way is to look at both sides of the equation, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Great, good work.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions from the audience or from our judges? And also you can either, if there's any questions for Mala, you can, am I saying your name correctly? I feel like I'm saying it wrong.
Yes, it's Mila.
Okay. For Mala or for Taylor, we can circle back around before we actually wrap up. And Kelechi, can you help me if there are any more raised hands or see any?
I don't see any.
Okay.
So are you guys, I'm hoping that as you guys deliberate, you'll give me you'll be prepared for Saturday's award, but you're not going to share it today?
No, we're not sharing today. They have to
Okay.
wait until tomorrow.
Okay.
So be on standby, pins and needles for both of them.
But both of you should be really proud
Yes,
of your work and your
absolutely.
research.
Great job.
Thank you.
I did not do this type of research as an undergrad. So I commend you both, but I also commend your professors for like getting you to this place where you could do such research. That's awesome.
It is. So if there are no more questions, then I thank you all for attending. And Kelechi, you have the floor.
All right, well, thank you all for supporting our undergraduate students. The